Hello, YouTube. All right, I'm trying to figure out my camera here. Might be a little too close. That's probably a little bit better. I'm not like right in your face. I attended my best friend's memorial services the other day. Stuart. Those of you on this channel know him as Trail Named Ace. He was a childhood friend that I had known for about 36 years. It's a long time to know somebody. We met when we were like in high school. I was in high school, getting ready to graduate. He was just starting high school, I think. He was about like 5 years behind me. So he was the friend that I, like one of my last, you make friends throughout your whole life, and some you keep for life, but most of them you don't. They kind of just drift off and disappear, and you sometimes reminisce about them, but you don't really, stay in touch with them. Stuart was the one few friends, right, that I actually stayed in touch with over the years, 36 years with. So I knew him fairly well, and we were a lot closer when we were younger because, we lived not across, but down the street from each other. He was like 2 houses down from me. So we spent a lot of time hanging out, and I think your teenage years, your later teenage years, is like your coming of age years where you start to become who you become, So the people in your life at that time are kind of critical, because they kind of help in a way shape who you eventually become. So I knew a version of Stuart that I thought I knew him like intimately, but during the services, which was packed with a bunch of people, including scouts and stuff, because he was heavily involved in scouting, I found out that Stuart wasn't just my best friend. He was best friends with literally dozens of people. Everybody called Stuart their best friend. I was like, what the heck? All these years, I thought he was my best friend. Well, I knew he was my best friend, okay? But it turned out I wasn't his best friend. So, something you learn. It took me only 55 years to learn this, that somebody could be your best friend, but you might not necessarily be theirs. Now, I know I was a pretty good friend to Stuart, and at one time maybe I was his best friend, like during those young years when we were, growing up, and maybe in our early 20s, because we hung out, we did everything. We went to spring break, we took road trips. We spent a lot of time together just hanging out and goofing off and just being friends. But over the years, we kind of drifted, because I got married, he got married. Once you do that, you either hang out together, or most of the time when you get married, you kind of lose touch with your friends, because now you're focusing on your spouse, and if you have children, your children. So that kind of happened with me. Stuart had gotten married before me, but I had a child before he did. And once you're married, you really don't go out and stay out all night like you used to when you were younger. But it was very interesting at the ceremony, which maybe I'll link if you guys want to see it. Maybe I'll provide a link. They ended up streaming it. That's modern technology. They can stream your funeral. So anyhow, it was sad because, I got to see all these different aspects of Stuart, and I was like, my goodness, he had all these best friends, and I don't think any of us knew we had competition. The thing was, he was such a good friend that he didn't make you feel like you had competition, and he made it like he was your best friend and you were his. That's what probably one of Stuart's most special traits was, that he had the ability, when he hung out with you and stuff, to make you feel like you were his best friend, and you didn't even know that he had dozens of others. And dozens of other best friends. And then you find out after he died after 36 years. Holy schmoly, the dude had so many best friends. I'm not talking about just close friends. People have friends who are close, and they might even stay in touch with each other for life. Talking a friend you could confide in, who knows your weaknesses as well as your strengths, and still puts up with you regardless of the weaknesses. Not a friend that you never fight, because even he and I had fights. I think anytime you hang out with someone long enough, eventually you fight. It's just whether or not you make up afterwards, and relationship either gets stronger or weaker. But that was so interesting for me to see all his other best friends. And I talked to a couple of them, not everyone, but a few I talked to. I saw how hurt they were, how sad they were, just like me, because they had lost their best friend. And it kind of gave me a thought of, my goodness, each and every single one of us, we don't think about it, but every single person that we know, they have a different perspective of us. There's like a different version of you. So, if you hang out with like 100 different people, or even 1,000 different people, there literally is like 100 or 1,000 different you. So I just find it interesting, and thought I would pose a question for you guys. What do you think of me? And and a lot of you know me here on YouTube. Some of you may know me even personally. I think on YouTube, it's kind of interesting, because on YouTube, you guys only see one facet. You don't see the whole picture. You see like the side that's broadcast. That's how you have all those fake van life and other people who come online, like YouTube or even TV personalities. You don't really see the whole picture of what they're like when the camera goes off. So it'd be interesting to find out what viewers think of me and what they see, because I think everyone sees a different version, and even family and friends. So I was just surprised, and it took me 55 years to realize that each and every single one of us appears as a different person to every person we encounter. Just a thought. So I guess what the message, if there is a message, is if you want to leave a legacy of how people perceive you, then for each and every single person you encounter, you need to project and be the person that you want to be remembered as. Now, once again, even though you project a certain image, what you project may not even be what other people see. So keep that in mind. And one of the sad things about life is that you really don't know what people think of you. You don't know what people think of you until you're dead. Okay? And maybe your spirit, if you believe in that stuff, maybe your spirit's there to watch them and know somehow, because there's a spiritual connection with people. I believe in the spirit. I believe in, the soul. I believe you do get to see, but it's even then it's at a different perspective, because you're no longer human. You're no longer flesh and blood. But when I saw the services for Stuart, I was like, I wonder if Stuart, what he would think of all this now that all his best friends have found each other. And said, holy schmoly, I'm not the only one. So I wonder if he's sitting there laughing. That's how I picture him, laughing at us, saying, gotcha, you gotcha. He fooled us all. I don't think it was an intentional fooling. I think it was just his personality. He had a way of making everybody feel special, and that's why he became everybody's best friend. So I think from now on, I think I'm gonna be a little bit more conscientious of how I treat people, because how you treat everybody on an individual basis determines their perception of you. And even how you think you're being nice, you think you're being kind, but maybe other people don't think so. Like I had an incident. I ended up I won't tell you, but several van type groups that were supposed to be helping people and stuff. I tried to post stuff that I thought would be useful, not even just van, but Facebook groups that I thought would be helpful. Like a posting I made. You know how I normally do my my carbon monoxide giveaway and stuff, and safety, winter safety, where I tell people, you know, carbon monoxide is important, and you should prepare your vehicle and whatnot, you know, and make sure you have the safety stuff in mind. And if you need a carbon monoxide detector, which this message is still true, if you need a carbon monoxide detector and you can't afford one, just contact me. You can contact me on this, or you can contact me through email at Denoy, DENOY.DeBoer, DEBOER, @gmail.com. Just let me know. Send me your PayPal, you know, either PayPal me or your PayPal email address, and I will send you. I'll make sure you get a carbon monoxide detector. You don't even have to be in a van. You know, if you're in an RV or a house, or whatever, where you might be burning things, especially with winter coming. But anyhow, I tried to post the video, and I even put the note in there that I was giving away, you know, free carbon monoxide detectors on this helpful living in a van type group. It wasn't, you know, the living in a van group. It was another group, but they blocked it. They said that, you know, I couldn't link the YouTube. I couldn't. And then another time I posted a link to the Veterans Administration. They had a blog that they're trying to get the word out that if you're a veteran who is homeless or facing imminent homelessness, they even gave a number and a contact for you to contact, because they're trying to get the veterans into housing. They're trying to end or at least reduce homeless vets. The VA is trying to do that. So I posted it, you know, and I even cut the article so that it had the contact information right up front. You didn't have to read the whole article. You could just get that phone number, call them, and then they would try to hook you up. And, you know, my message has always been, if you're a veteran who's struggling and stuff, contact the VA. Just go to any VA clinic or hospital, and you might qualify for services that you didn't even know you could qualify for. Like, I didn't even know that I qualified for services. And after, you know, the VA went through me and stuff, interviewed me and put me also to help, they ended up suggesting that I file for VA disability. That was the VA hospital staff, the psychiatrists and psychologists and stuff that were trying to help me. They suggested that I file, and even pointed me towards the disabled, I think it's called DAV, Disabled American Veterans. And they act kind of like an attorney for you and help you file through the VA and follow up and do all the stuff, all the paperwork you need to get services. But what was interesting was trying to help the people by posting on these different groups and stuff. They blocked the postings. They wouldn't let it post. And then they said it had to be original content. I'm like, what? You're in like a group that has homeless people in it, and I'm trying to help a certain group that has help available, and you're blocking that information, and you're claiming that you are a group. What you're a group doing is promoting people living in a van, but not promoting people who don't want to live in a van but are forced to, you know, to get out of the van. I'm kind of opposite. Well, not really. I don't mind people living in a van. I lived in a van, and it was actually pretty cool, some cool aspects of it. But if you're not doing it by choice, you should be given an option for a way to get out, you know? Some people live in a van purposely. They want to do that. It saves money. It makes life a little bit more interesting. And, you know, if you're wanting to travel, it's a really cheap way to do it, you know, and you can take your time. I mean, if you're not working, if you're working online, you can do it. Or if you're getting a pension or disability or something like that, as long as you can handle the harshness of living in a van, it's something that might make your life with something, you know, a life with living. I guess it kind of ties into Stuart in a way, because, you know, as I said, I knew him for like 36 years. And he went through a lot of different phases. Like when we were young and single, we did really stupid, crazy stuff. A lot of it that could have killed us, but somehow we survived. And then as he got older, and he went through a divorce, it was a long-term marriage that kind of fell apart. And I think in a way he almost didn't want to live. He started living very dangerously, to me it seemed like. He was doing stuff like rock climbing, I don't even think with safety harnesses and stuff. And he was like going out into the woods, to try to do survival. But if you don't survive, the result is you die. Not somebody comes pulls you out. You die in the woods. That kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, you're like living on the edge. And he was like that for a while. I mean, there's several ways to look at it. You can look at it as him risking his life because he didn't value his life anymore. Or you could look at it as him actually living the life he wanted to live, to take those risks. And if he died, he died. But once he had his daughter, he toned it down, like way, way down. Like no more, rock climbing or jumping out of airplanes and crazy stuff. It was more like going to Disney, going to Harry Potter or art museum, or hiking with his daughter and camping with the scouts. It was like safer in a lot of ways. And ironically, he died from COVID. Which I don't know. I can't even wrap my mind around it. But I guess in a way it goes to show you that when it's your time, it's your time. He could have taken preventions, which he didn't. But then when you think about his life, jumping out of airplanes and climbing on rocks really high up, or going out to do survival where he actually paid money for this. They have services where you pay money and they take you out to the woods, like the wilderness, and just leave you out there. They give you a slip of paper with a phone number that says, once you make it out of the woods, call this phone number and we'll send someone to come pick you up. He said he got dropped off with like, I think there was like, I don't know, it was like 7 or 15 of them got dropped off. And they basically take them like, I don't know if it's like in a helicopter or a truck or whatever, but they drop them off in the middle of, they're like blindfolded. They don't even tell you where you're going to be, like what state or anything. They just take you on this big long trip, and then they drop you out in the woods, not with a group. You're dropped off by yourself with whatever you took with you, which is like usually a pocket knife. And, he did this when he was younger. I was like, dude, you're like nuts. Now, if I was in that situation where I had to survive, I'll do my best, but I'm not going to pay somebody to drop me off in the woods where I might die. That to me is just crazy. I was thinking about all the crazy stuff and the different versions of your life and stuff, and I was like, when I first went through my divorce, I didn't even know if I was going to live or die. I didn't have a job anymore. My career as a teacher was ruined. I didn't even know what was going to happen next. If I was going to end up on the run and just leave, just forget everything, including my children, which would be a very hard decision, I couldn't do it. But Stuart and I had met for survival. So he was trying to teach me how to fish. And then, we talked about, like, a lot of people think that if you're going to survive, you need to catch fish, like big fish that you can actually eat. But really, the big fish, to catch them is a little bit more difficult. You got to have bait, and you got to have, know how to catch fish. The easier way to survive is to catch the minnows, the little tiny fish you see everywhere. So we talked about that, and all you would need is like a little net, and if you didn't have a net, you could get like a bag and just poke holes in it and a stick and just scoop up in the water and get the fish, the little tiny minnows. And you're like, well, what do you do with the minnows? Well, you could boil them up, and then they'll probably fall apart, but then you drink the water that you boiled with them, and then what you get is protein. The other thing is you can just fry them up, and then they become crispy little chicken bites, popcorn chicken, if you get breading and put it on there. But that's the kind of stuff you would do in a real survival situation. Not, people take a really fancy fishing pole and they're trying to catch fish. We would do stuff like maybe make a net across a little stream or something, so the fish actually hit it, and made little traps. Because if you have a fishing pole and you have to try to catch fish from fishing, you're sitting there wasting time that you could be building your shelter and other stuff. It's better to make a passive fishing catch, like a net or something you can scoop up. And if you go small, it's easy to catch them. And some of you saw bits of it where I was kind of joking, like me eating the sand fleas. That was part of the survival strategy. If you didn't have food and you needed protein, those sand fleas are actually edible and they don't make you blind. That was a kind of a little joke I was doing on YouTube. Well, I can't seem to see right now. Now, the sand fleas can be cooked up, and they're pretty nasty. I'm not gonna lie to you, they do not taste good. But if you put them in batter, like a lot of batter, then they could be passable as a snack, like a popcorn sand fleas. They just have this weird funky. It's a funky taste. And just thinking about it, my mouth just wants to. But fish eat them. Certain types of fish eat those sand fleas, so they're edible, and people have eaten them, and they cook them up better than I did. But I cooked it up in like fried rice, and it tasted okay. It had I don't know how to describe the flavor and smell. It was kind of a stinky, oceany smell. Probably because the sand fleas, with their diet, I think they might eat like algae and stuff like that. So you're probably eating algae. But some of those things you saw me doing on YouTube were kind of me preparing for what might happen. I didn't know the future. I didn't know that I would, like right now, I think I'm almost completely out of homelessness. You're like, well, you have a home, Denoy. Yeah, but it's a matter of keeping the home, not losing it for whatever reason. You don't really know the future, so, it's kind of good to have some of these skills. And I was practicing it even while I was living in the van, like building the cheap yurt and stuff. It was kind of for fun and for YouTube, but in some ways it was actual skills I was trying to develop, so that if I had to, I know that if I had to, I could build a hut in the woods, and it would be pretty nice, depending on how I could get the supplies there and whatnot, and I could live out there if I had to. The question is, would I want to? And the answer is no. I don't want to. There are people who do it on purpose, but not me. And as far as YouTube, I was sharing it with you guys because I thought that maybe some people might benefit from it. People that didn't know that you could eat sand fleas, although making it seem like you go blind probably wasn't a good idea. And I didn't tell you guys this, but do you guys know how I was so friendly with the squirrels and stuff like that? Stuart and I used to eat squirrels. It's really bad. That's before I became friends with them. I'm trying to think if I was still friends with them after we ate squirrels. But if you've ever wondered what squirrels taste like, they taste like nuts. Like acorn and other stuff. Because I guess they eat so much nuts. Yeah, they eat nuts. And they have a kind of a gamey taste, but also you can definitely taste like nuts. It tastes like nuts. And do I recommend eating squirrels? For survival. They tend to be plentiful and stuff. For me, I don't think I could ever bring myself to killing and eating a squirrel. Not on my own. Just because I have a connection with them. I don't think I could do it. And you're like, well, what if it meant, survival where either you eat the squirrel or you die? I don't know. You really can't answer those questions until you're faced with starvation, and you're like in a real survival situation. I would never hunt a squirrel for fun. You know, or even to experiment and, like, I would never do that. Most of my eating, cooking, wilderness survival stuff is all fake stuff. Like, remember the video where I said I ate, what was it, an armadillo? It was the Dollar Tree little pork packages. And I showed viewers in the end what it really was. I didn't kill an armadillo to eat. I won't do that. And you're like, why won't I do that? I won't do it just for YouTube. I know some survivalists and stuff, they do that. They kill animals to show that you can do it. But I won't do it unless I have to, for real. Now fish, on the other hand, I might catch and eat, but people do that anyways, not for survival. And one of the reasons for catching and eating fish is, I feel like, at least to me, there's a lot more fish than there would be squirrels. So, if I catch a fish and end up eating it, to me, it's still a sad thing, because I know that I took a life, but I pray to God and even the animal spirit that, thank you for the nourishment, thank you for sacrificing your life so that I might live. And I eat it, but I don't do it all the time. Like, the only time I really ate fish that we caught was when Stuart and I were doing it in the event that I had to do that to stay alive. And also when my son, who loved fishing, so we would eat what he caught. And me personally, I don't really like fish too much. I ate it because my son caught it and he cooked it for me. And, but I also taught him that when we take a life, we don't just arbitrarily say this life was something for us to use and we can do whatever we want because we're humans and we're all powerful. That fish was one of God's creatures and given life. Life is not something that should be taken for granted, and it's sacred. And so when we take a life to eat or whatever for survival, it's kind of sad, but it's something that we have to do if we want to stay alive. I mean, some people say you could be a vegetarian and not have to take a life, but you're taking a plant, and even if you don't kill the plant, pulling off its fruit, which is its little babies, you can get to the point where you don't even want to live anymore, because really to live, you have to kill. Or you don't have to necessarily kill. Like if you were a vegetarian, you could grow stuff and eat parts of it. But, imagine if somebody said, well, Denoy, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to eat one finger at a time, and then when we're done with the finger, we're going to eat your hand. I don't think I'd like that. And I don't think the plant likes that either. But when you look at the bigger picture, it's how God designed us. We are biological, and we have to eat. We can't sustain without eating. And so, it's something that we end up having to do just to stay alive. On that thought, I think I've been on here long enough. I'm going to read real quick here and try to answer some of your comments and questions. George, good to see you on here. Good morning, T. Lee. Idoji, good to see you on here. An old lady, good to see you. And thank you for your comments. Private account, good to see you on here. And Rick, good morning. Good morning, Van Life Channel. All right. Somebody's talking about eating the very little fat content. That's probably the sand fleas. So if you want to try it, I do recommend trying to clean out their guts. Don't eat the sand fleas with their guts, because you might have bacteria in there. Okay? I think any animal that you're going to eat, don't eat their guts. Even if you cook it thoroughly, probably not a good idea to eat their guts, because of bacterial infection and stuff. And, I don't think it tastes that good. Although, I eat liver, so that's a gut. So I don't know. Anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. I do wish you all well. I hope that you are putting forth your best version of yourself for the world. So until next time, everyone, take care. God bless you all. And private account says, never eaten squirrels, but I have eaten bunnies. Yeah, I ate bunny. The thing is, we ended up, I ate rabbit. Rabbit's kind of interesting taste too. A lot of people say, what do things taste like? Well, rabbit tastes like rabbit. And I didn't really like it too much. The flavor was a little bit off. I don't know if you'd call it gamey or whatever, but it was a little bit off. And then we ended up later on, when I ate the rabbit, I was still a kid, and it was in Thailand. Somebody made rabbit, and they minced it up. I don't know how cooked it was. It seemed raw to me, almost. But later on, we ended up with a pet rabbit. And once I got a pet rabbit, I don't think I can eat rabbit again. It's like, once you connect with a certain animal, it's hard to eat anything that's similar to them. Because then you remember your poor little Fluffy, You remember your little rabbit, your little squirrel friend, Tiny. It's hard for me. So I definitely don't want to make friends with fish. Because that's one of the few options for meat that I think I could still eat. And maybe chicken. If I have chicken, I don't think I'd want to eat the chicken. I'd want to eat their eggs. All right, so probably not chicken, but hens. Eat their eggs, even though, you're essentially eating what could have became a baby. You want to eat it before it's fertilized. Once it's fertilized, you're actually eating a little baby chicken. But hey, Lucas. So Lucas says a lot of people are choosing not to work now. I guess it's a personal choice if they have a way of living without working. For me, if you have to work to live, it's kind of bad. I think that if you have to work so you can stay alive, that's not good. Work should have meaning. So those people that are choosing not to work, I hope they can find something to do in their life that has meaning. And by work, he's probably talking about working a 9 to 5 where you go work for somebody and they pay you. But work can also be trying to catch the food you eat that day. Work can be trying to build your little hut or whatever you live in. Now, if you're going around collecting government funds like food stamps and stuff and choosing not to work, I kind of look at that, as kind of bad unless you don't have a choice. Like, if you can work, I think it's important to try to work because it comes down to you and your sense of value. I think it's important that government helps its citizens and stuff like that. But at the same time, if your whole choice is saying, I don't want to work because the government feeds me, what are you really contributing to society and your own life? I mean, is this the life you want to live? It's just sitting there and letting some people like that, they don't want to work. They just sit there and get freebies. And I don't want to really judge them too much, although I think I am in a way. I think that it's better for you, or at least for me, I can't say for them, but for me, I feel better if I'm doing something. Like, even if I wasn't able to work for whatever reason, I would still try to do things to help people, help society, help humanity. There was a time when I was on food stamps. There was a time when I was on, went to the food kitchens. They have, not food kitchen, but they have food pantries where they give you food because you couldn't afford it, and so they had donated food that was going to be tossed out from the grocery store or whatever. So those services, I think, are important. I think government helping the civilians, I suppose, but its citizens is important. But I think people as a whole should try to not just live and die, because then what was your whole purpose in life? You're just here to get food stamps? Even if you're disabled, if you can do something for others, I guess that's the key. Is you can do it for yourself, which you should do for yourself, but if you can learn to see just beyond yourself and try to help at least one more person or two people, then there's a little bit more of a greater purpose in your life. Your purpose in life isn't so much to, I guess some people would say, leech off others. Your purpose in life would be to live and to help others. But who's to say that's the way it should be? That's just the way I prefer to live. So until next time, everyone, take care. God bless you all. Remember, put forth the best version of yourself out there. So God bless you all. Stay safe. Bye-bye now.